analyzed that very deeply. We've got a whole corridor of analysts there and on the other side of the building, and a whole bunch of people in China actually. So our team is actually quite distributed, and we go through these things, try and understand what's going on, and then we will, if the change is warranted and substantial, and reasonable for the time frame, we'll go away and entertain that change. Okay. And there's been quite a few things that we have changed. For us, in terms of that telemetry, we instrumented somewhere around 400 key scenarios. There's 400 key parts of the UI and inbox components inside Windows that are actually reporting back this kind of telemetry for us.
Okay.
And of the priority one set of those, about 75% of them were improved between the beginning of beta to now.
Cool.
And today is we're roughly the end of April.
Yeah.
Finalizing up on RC.
Yeah. What are some of the other ones? I mean, you mentioned painting the start window. Are you also measuring just total boot time to a login screen?
We have all of those. So basically all the various phases of boot. How long it takes from the point you push Control or Delete to the time you actually get the prompt up. How long it takes for Explorer, from the time Explorer starts to the time you see the desktop. We have just a truckload of them. Things around the majority of Explorer windows. If you fire up your documents, how long does it take for you to fire up the documents window? There are some things in IE, opening a tab in IE. And the interesting thing for us, and it's been even more accentuated during this part of the release, is how much the ecosystem and third parties also play a role here.
Sure.
You will see third-party components like antivirus spending a lot of time where you normally don't see this sort of stuff in the lab. But the great thing has been that we put this thing out in the wild and we're getting the real experience out there. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of people that have downloaded the beta and using it extensively. And we're at the point where we sort of say, why is this piece of code doing sleeps when we're opening the start menu? What's the story behind that? Obviously, some developer somewhere was trying to fix a problem, and they decided to use sleep as part of their fix for this problem. And we see that and we sort of scratch our heads. It's like, we need to go and talk to those guys. So we're in the process now of, we're very much shifted gears now. And we're looking at helping our partners in the ecosystem do an even better job in terms of their support for Windows 7.
Okay. What are some of the other, I guess some of the feedback that I hear from people is that they love Windows 7, it feels faster.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit? Are there things that you've done that are more cosmetic than under the covers to improve the feel, or is everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've done things from a cosmetic perspective. We certainly focus very heavily on the things that we perceive are key scenarios. Uh-huh. Like, for example, the key parts of the UI. How quickly does IE start up? The IE team themselves did a lot of work around making sure that network requests get on the wire really quickly, making sure that when their JavaScript engine is doing a lot better and it's a lot faster in terms of its manipulations of various bits of code. When we look through things like, we looked at all the on-off transitions, of course, so we've dedicated heavy amounts of resource to things like boot times and looking at standby times and hibernate times, and what can we do to optimize those things? Because you know what? People really perceive, a lot of their perception of performance is around things as simple as booting up, shutting down.
Yeah.
I want the person that's sitting there at the airport that is just about to hop on a flight to be able to open up their laptop, quickly punch out an email, make sure that email's sent, and basically be able to shut that down and hop on that plane. That has to be able to happen. That has to happen quickly. If there's a 20-second delay because we're off searching for a proxy server on the corporate network when the user's actually out there at the airport, that's something we've got to go away and fix. And that's really been, one of the themes for the work that we've done. Yeah. If I was to go away and enumerate some of the other things, I'd talk about some focus on device insertion. If I plug in a device, and I've got the driver on board, how quickly can I get that device connected? If I look at things like hangs, looking for hangs in the system. Sometimes one of the things we did find as part of the Windows 7 cycle was there's a class of drives that have some algorithms coded into their firmware which were really problematic. They were problematic because if you do a whole bunch of random writes to the drive, and the drive will go away and basically cache all of those writes, and then you go away and ask the drive to do a read. You'll be sitting there. Your read will be basically sitting there waiting for potentially half a second to a second or so, which is really a really bad perceivable issue from a user's perspective. So what we wanted to do was make sure that we identified those drives, and we do that now. So in Windows 7, if you've got a drive, for example, that we detect is susceptible to this behavior as part of the Windows Experience Index, and you look at your Windows Experience Index control panel applet, under the detailed section, we'll actually surface up the fact that, this drive could be susceptible to some of these issues. And there might be firmware updates available to it.
All right.
Along those lines.
So I really like you use the terms, user in control, where we're really focusing on, the user wants his machine to be fast for the things he's doing. He doesn't care about some of these things that are happening in the background. So focusing on that.
Yeah.
And ready and responsive. That's was the other phrase that you used. Really
Correct.
Focus on, again, the user experience.
Absolutely. For us, our big focus, like you said, was very much along the lines of, how can I make this thing better for, my dad? How can I make this thing better for, my sister? So, people, everyone in general. And also, how can I allow Windows to run on more and more devices in more and more situations? I don't want people to sit there and have to make a cup of coffee when the machine's booting up in the morning. That's no good.
Right.
What do we need to do to fix that?
To make it boot faster. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is good stuff. We're going to check out the RC, Bill. Thanks for your time today and all the work your team's put into Windows.
No worries.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Adam.